What's going on, guys? So today I'm talking about a knife that I've had for probably, I want to say at least a year, maybe even 2 years. This is the first, maybe even longer than 2 years, I don't know. I've had this a long time. But this, I think, was my very first knife I had from Kansept. All right, the company Kansept, K-A-N-S-E-P-T. This is, it's pretty cool. There's one thing I don't like about this knife, but I like everything else about it. All right, and I have to say it has to do with opening it. But first off, it is a pretty wicked looking design. This is the Kansept Delta. All right, the exact model number is K1011A1. These sell for about a little over 200, like 215, 217, somewhere in that range. So it's not a cheap knife at all. This is rocking titanium. It's titanium frame lock. See, there is a little lock insert there. And our blade here is a CPM S35VN. Yes, this is completely covered in tape, gunk, and residue. This has been a beater for a long time for me. I actually thought I did a video on this already. I just kind of scanned through real quick, didn't see it, so I thought, oh man, I definitely have to talk about it because I've had this one for a while. It is cool. It is really cool looking. It's aggressive looking. I like the modified Tanto blade, all right? So obviously from our tip, the Tanto rides all the way down to here. It's a curved Tanto. Then we have a recurve, all right? It's kind of an interesting design for a blade shape. It is very aggressive looking, both in its handle and its blade. Man, that dirty blade is distracting. I probably should have cleaned this up beforehand, but it is what it is. Anyway, the CPM S35VN is a total champ on this thing. Just it seems to always be sharp. In the year or 2 years or 3 years I've had this, I don't even know how long it's been. I know I sharpened it at least once, maybe twice. All right, it is a little bit harder to sharpen, obviously, with the recurve section here. You could treat the Tanto tip just like you would any old clip point or something. It's just a simple curve. But the hard part is here in the transition, okay? When you go, especially when you go from a regular traditional curve to a recurve, a lot of people will round that second point off, all right? But if you treat them like two separate entities, two separate little blades, and are very careful where they meet, you won't have a problem there. But I have to say, even if you just ran this through and rounded it off, it's not the end of the world. It's just really not a big deal. But anyway, worth mentioning, be careful with that as far as sharpening. I do love the little accent, little gold collar around our pivot, which is very cool. This thing locks up fantastic, all right, like a bank vault. It's very beefy, thick titanium here. You can see a little spacer on the bottom, which also has a hole in it next to the frame there for your lanyard. Never put a lanyard on this one. As far as specs, this has a 3.5-inch blade. It is flat ground, all right? It is a stonewash finish, and it's kind of hard. I mean, they claim it's a stonewash finish. I want to say it's almost just like a satin finish. If it is stonewash, it's very, very fine. It's not what I would consider stonewash, but that's how they mention it when you see it on dealers and stuff, or even their main site says it's stonewash. But overall length is 8.5 inches. It is a fairly larger knife here. Very robust. It is a little bit chunkier because it's bigger, 5.5 ounces on this guy. So first, before I get into what I don't like, let me tell you what I do like. I love that it's big. I love that it's cool looking. I love that it's different. I like the ergonomics a lot. It's weird because this handle shape doesn't look like it'd be very ergonomic, but it is. We have a huge, very wide finger choil on here. When I hold the knife a little bit downward, it feels so comfortable. There's a nice thumb rest, all right, on the back here that does have jimping. It's not super purposeful. It's not like extra grippy or anything, but it is comfortable to lean your thumb on there. And the rest of the knife is just kind of curved here. Fingers wrap around. Don't feel that pocket clip, which is very nice. It's very, detailed, sculpted clip. As far as carry, I will tell you real quick. Carrying the pocket, carries totally fine. It does stick up a lot. There's a bunch of that sticking out. All right, and it is obviously somewhat pointed, so if that's not a look that you are going for, that's obviously a consideration. It wasn't uncomfortable. At first I thought maybe that, like when I sat down, because I'm a bigger dude, that might have like poked into my gut or something like that. Never had an issue at all. Some knives randomly will do that occasionally, where, I sit down, if the pocket is just right, maybe it'll poke into my stomach or something, but no issues at all with carry. I just wanted to mention it is a lot of knife kind of sticking up. But anyway, I like the ergonomics, I like the looks, I love the blade steel, I love the titanium, I love everything about it, except for one thing, and it has to do with opening. So this knife has 3 ways to open it. You can see there's a traditional flipper on the back, okay, which is fairly large. There's a dual thumb stud on the side, so you can flick it open, thumb stud, flip it open. And also, because of the jimping on top here, they're calling this a front flipper. All right, so there's a heavy detent on this. I've never really been able to front flip that. Okay, so as you can see, if you can overcome the detent, like right there, I just popped it out. You can use your thumb to kind of bring that blade open and locked. Or you can use the thumb studs, which again, aren't all that great, but you can flick it out with the thumb studs. I always use the rear flipper, but here's the catch. And I use that word very specifically, catch, because that's exactly what happens. It catches my finger, or at least it did. When I first used this knife, I put my finger like this, I go to flip it out, and that happened. Can you see what happened here? If you pull this down, your finger rests on this cutout, right? So you go to flick it out, and it pinches the hell out of your finger. And this happened to me a bunch when I first got it. I don't know why it was designed this way, but it's just, even when I use it today, I know to just move my finger out of the way, all right? I only use like kind of the side finger. And I literally have to just swing my finger out of the way before it grabs it, because if you don't time it right, or you're not used to it, you leave your finger there and it literally just pinches you, just by design. That's all. It just leaves a perfect area to pinch. So that's the one big gripe with this. Obviously, after 4, 5, 6 times where it pinched my finger, and I go, what was that? I recognize the fact that I have to move my finger out of the way, and it wasn't that big of a deal. All right, so now in opening, I just kind of know, just swing my finger out. All right, you can get that to open up fairly easily without a problem. But it's enough to at least warn people about it. All right, I'm very curious if you have a Kansept Delta. Has this happened to you? Or maybe it hasn't. Maybe you don't even use that flipper. Maybe you prefer using the front flipper, which again, because the detent is very strong in this guy, all right, really wants to suck in. The location of the thumb stud make it a little hard for me to pop it out. You can see it's just a little bit difficult, but also I can't just use the front flipper as it's intended. Maybe if I pop it out first and then swing it, I don't know. Just not comfortable, not natural to me. The flipper's fine. So once this knife is open, fantastic. However, there's 3 ways to get it open, and I don't like all 3. I don't like any of them. Thumb stud's not working for me. Front flipper definitely not working for me. And the rear flipper, I got to be careful it doesn't pinch me. So those are my gripes with this knife. Once it's open, it's a-okay, but getting it open was an issue for me. So I am particularly curious if you have the Delta, if you have issues with it, with opening it. But I have. I mean, that's just something I definitely want to talk about a little bit there. But yeah, once it's open, it's golden. It's just a fantastic knife. Again, a little bit of a drawback as far as sharpening. It's not going to be very easy to sharpen at all, especially if you're new to sharpening. But besides that, pretty cool knife. I did save the box here. I've shown this, the Kansept knives, they're all the same, but I just think it's kind of cool. So I wanted to show it in this video in case you haven't seen this before. All right, so you get your microfiber cloth here. All right, some paperwork, and every one of these Kansept knives that I've gotten all had their own pouch, which is really nice for storage. All right, so if you weren't carrying this in your pocket or something, or let's say you have it in a bag or something like that, it doesn't get all scratched up. All right, especially a $200+ knife, you don't want it to get beat up and scratched up. Although mine doesn't look like I care much about it. That's all honest wear on it. That's it. It's just tape residue. That's it. Just did a bunch of box cutting and stuff, and happened to get a bunch of tape glue on it, and I haven't had a chance to clean it off yet. But yeah, I like this one quite a bit. It's just, it's one of those things. Just kind of makes me laugh a little bit when I grab it, because I know, I'm gonna get pinched if I don't watch out. But I'm used to it now. It's kind of like an old buddy with a couple problems, but you still like the guy. You just kind of deal with those little hang-ups. That's kind of how I am with this knife. I think mostly because it's just cool looking. It is very aggressive to me. Very, very cool. And even cooler once it's clean. But anyway, that's all. Those are my opinions on the Kansept Delta. Let me know what you think. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out my video. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back tomorrow to check out whatever video I post tomorrow. Anyone who's followed me for a long time has discovered that. You never know what you're going to get with me. It could be anything. So that's all for now. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.